Welcome to the Indie Music Room, a conversation with independent artists about writing, recording, performing, and promoting their original music. And now here's your host, Heather Kelly.
Hey everybody, you're listening to Heather Kelly with the Indie Music Room. It's been a long summer, a busy, crazy summer. I'm privileged to have had some really cool people on the calendar this year. One being today. I am so excited for you guys to get to talk to this guy. His music is infectious. The melodies are crazy good, and it's the songs that you can actually like relate to, all the lyrics and stuff. But he comes all the way from the East Coast over in Pittsburgh. I would like to introduce Drew Danburry, and his band is Icarus Phoenix. Icarus Phoenix. There we go. I said it right, Drew. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I have been privileged to listen to all of your music. These guys that we're showing this to, they may be first-time people, but they're going to be fans. I want to say congratulations because today is a new release. This is your fourth album release. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm
tell
so
everybody
excited.
the name about it and a little bit about your background story in case they haven't heard of you or anything. We're going to get you out there. So why don't you fill everybody in?
Do you want to know the background on the band
I was
name?
born in, no, I'm just kidding. You
Okay.
can just talk about how you kind of got into music and your journey along the way.
Okay. I mean, a lot of it just started, I picked up a guitar on a vacation and I had written a poem and I wrote a song and I showed it to a friend who actually played music because I didn't at the time. And he offered to record it. And it was so much fun to just record a song that I thought, I want to do this more. And so then, we started a band, it's college, and I just like writing songs. It's very much been a therapeutic process and really inspires a lot of self awareness and self acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just over the years, it's been extremely helpful to process difficult things.
I understand that. I find that when I was still writing, very therapeutic. I mean, I got more out of that than I actually did going to therapy at times. But it's a way it's a way to get your feelings on paper, and then when you put it to music, it actually comes to life, and then the emotion comes in with it. So that's when you like today, I can't believe this is a release day because those were the big days for me. It would be like this emotional, because you get it out there and that project done. So you said that you didn't know how to play guitar in the beginning, that you just wrote poetry?
Yeah, initially I was writing poetry and I wrote a song with my friend who played guitar. And then I went on a vacation and I picked up a guitar and a chord book and I just put 3 chords together. It wasn't a good song, but it was like really fun to make it. And then I thought, oh, we'll get a bunch of people together and we'll start making songs together. We'll be creative as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it's a really common story. So I guess what I wanted to say was it's been like 20 years and you just get a little bit better and better at it. Consistently kind of refining your technique and refining how you want to say what you want to say. Sorry.
No, you're right. No, I love that. I love that. You're right about that. It's one thing technically to learn and you get better because you're, by collaborating, you've learned things from other people. But what takes time to hone in is like how your song, right? Like the way your songs sound. It took time that long. It takes time when you try to be individual and authentic instead of just trying to copy what the radio is doing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It slipped my mind in the moment. What's interesting about music is you'll write something and you'll just think, oh, I'm just writing whatever. It doesn't really mean anything to you at the moment sometimes. And then later, 6 months or a year later, you'll realize your subconscious was literally trying to tell you something and you just thought you were being creative and whimsical. And in reality, like you knew what was going on deep down and it was coming out in a song and you didn't fully realize it till much later. Like what mentally you were thinking and going through, it was like abundantly clear in a song that you wrote
Hmm.
6 months ago, a year ago, and you didn't even pick up on it at the time. That's what's really interesting.
It comes all of a sudden, you'll have that aha moment when you go, that's okay, that's where it was from. That's where, okay. And I mean, it does once you complete that, and maybe you don't even, you said like 6 months later, you might have that moment where you go, I see, I can see it all clear now. So
Yeah.
that's so cool. That's so great.
Yeah.
Because you've released how many? This is your fourth album, but how many songs? Was it like a close to 100 or over 100?
Well, so I had a project called Drew Danburry
Yeah.
for a long time. Icarus Phoenix it was started in like 2019, 2020.
Mhm.
And and so it's been like at least 400 songs, at least
Oh my gosh.
40 albums. But I think when the idea of Icarus Phoenix came along, I had an idea, I had a concept in mind, in my head of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And
Hmm.
I was going through a lot of really big changes, similar to just the last few years. And
Hmm.
it was kind of like I don't know, I don't know how to describe it, but it was heavy and it was really intentional, and it felt like, okay, this is the thing. This is what something finally kind of caught in that moment, at least mentally for me.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So when you were doing was that more of a solo act, the Drew Danbury thing?
Yeah. So Drew Danbury, it was the Danburys was the band in college, and then when I went to go tour, the band was like, I don't want to go on that. So I ended up
Oh,
going pretty much alone. And then I realized, hey, it's so much easier to throw your guitar in a car and travel a whole country without a band.
it
I
is.
did that. Yeah, I did that for like a long time. And when I could afford it and when I could make it work, I'd have a band. But a lot of times it was just a lot more budget friendly to go solo.
Absolutely.
The
And
music wasn't as good.
I know
Go
from
ahead.
having a five-piece band, not just financially that's more difficult, but I mean, different ideas and different personalities can start to kind of clash at times, when you're the main songwriter. Not that I wasn't open to collaboration, but it can be a tricky road if you have like a five-piece band, not to
Yeah.
mention all the work and setup and everything. So, and
Yeah.
nowadays it's hard to get a live show that'll pay decent for five people. I mean, you've got to make some money at what you try to do. That's our career. So,
Yes. Thankfully, the band right now, the four members that we have, it feels like a family more than ever. It feels
good.
honestly surreal. Like it's so good and it's so there's a connection there that I've never felt before in any musical project. And it is something that I want to fight to keep together and hold together
Hmm.
as long as possible, because playing with them is beautiful, writing songs with them is beautiful, and I mean nothing lasts. So I just really want to soak up this
Yeah.
moment for as long as I possibly can. And
Hmm.
yeah,
I wish life was like that. When we get to the perfect spot, we could just hit pause. But
yeah,
we can't do that. I wish we could. I
yeah.
wish we could. Well, let's talk about some of the players here. Let me see. You've got, let me see. Oh, Justin and Andrew, right?
Okay, so Justin and Andrew recorded on the album,
Okay.
and the current lineup right now is Eli Sims
Okay.
and Brendan Russell on
Hmm.
bass, Eli
Okay.
Sims on drums, and Lena Rhodes from the band Little Lungs on guitar and Harmony's lead vocals.
Okay.
When we went into the studio, we had a different lineup,
Okay.
and it came out great. But currently we have a new lineup, and it's the best.
Good. And how,
Yeah.
I was reading through your thing and I saw that when you guys were in the studio, Andrew tracked 40 songs in 3 days.
Yeah, it was more
That
like
is crazy.
yeah, it was more like 2 days
Oh
because
my.
we went in and we just went through all the songs. We did like every song in like 2 or 3 takes.
Mhm.
And I think the first day we did about 2/3 of the songs, and we're like, okay, let's take a break. That's been like 20 plus songs. Let's take a break. And then I recorded vocals for that evening. And then we came back in the next day and did the same thing and finished off all the songs. And then I recorded more vocals. And then the third day was kind of let's add things here. Let's do this here. Let's just play, basically.
And this was at the studio out in Utah. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what I usually do just for budget reasons is I'll track everything before, like I'll do all the harmonies, I'll do noise and like bound sound collages and saxophone and flute and just like everything I can possibly think of, I'll throw it into the mix and then we'll take it into the studio and we'll record or re-record the drums, the bass, the vocals, like everything that's going to be at the front of the mix. So that way
Okay.
you have like a really big full sound without having to spend, weeks and weeks and weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
don't have that money.
I'm fortunate. We Kirk owns a studio. I mean, it's 50 feet behind the house. 2 inch. We're still doing the old 2 inch tape. I don't mind, but it's
Yeah,
I could have never afforded studio time. It's crazy.
it
Um,
is. And you look back at like some of those bands that were so huge and monumental, like Big Star, the
mhm.
number one record. I think Alex Childress was working and just he was working in a studio and he just recorded everything after hours.
Yeah,
So he
yeah.
just had access to just play as long as he wanted, whenever he wanted. That can make a big difference.
Oh, it sure does. It does.
Yeah.
So that producer there, that was the one, Jones. What was his name?
Jed
Jed
Jones.
Jones. Okay, and he was
Yeah.
like the producer for Malone and the Killers. And is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So I used to cut his hair.
I
Um,
do hear too.
oh, good. Yeah, I used to cut his hair, and he just mentioned one day when I was cutting his hair, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm working at the studio." I'm like, "Oh no way! Like I had no idea. Let's record a song for
Yeah,
fun,"
yeah.
and we did, and it came out great. And then we decided let's record a couple more, and then it came out great. And so then when I had the idea of Icarus Phoenix, I knew exactly who I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to work with. And
Yeah.
so even as like band members, like as I've moved across the country or as band members have come and gone, it's almost like Jed Jones is and I have been like the very consistent members of the band. And so even with the band in Baltimore now,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, okay, well we could record here, but he's kind of the other member of the band.
Absolutely. He's got your sound like honed in. Whatever,
Yes,
he's really learned, the best attributes and what to bring out and such. It's really cool.
yes. And that's it's inherently why I trust him. He's like the first person that I came to where I'll go into the studio, I'll have all these crazy ideas. I'm like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And he'll be like, yes, maybe, not that, and then yes on that. And he'll take all this the crazy ideas and all the whatevers, and he'll just filter it all into what you end up getting.
That's exactly what they need to do.
Yeah,
There's people that you can go into a studio and they may engineer you, but they don't
yeah,
they that's your, they don't give you their input as far as a producer would. So that's great that you've got that in your back pocket. We
it
are going
is.
to go ahead. Oh,
Go
I'm sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead, Drew, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's similar to the band and like finding that is so special. Like I don't want to let go of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something. I mean, it took me 20 years to find him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna find it again.
Yeah.
So like holding on to that and appreciating that and treating them with the care and the love that they deserve is so important. Um, anyways, that's
That's
all.
very wise because I
Yeah,
don't think a lot of people really get that till later and it may be too late. You
yeah,
see that and appreciate it now.
yeah.
And you are a very insightful man, wise one. You are.
Thank
Why don't
you.
you tell me a little bit about the first song of yours we're going to share today? It's The Things You Never Told Me. It's got a video and everything, but let's talk about that, how that came up and your thoughts behind that song.
Sure. That one I think was one of the early tracks, one of the first tracks I wrote, and it is a direct statement to what I was going through in divorce and what I was kind of dealing with my previous partner, and kind of addressing those things that, like, life's unfair. I get it. And I'm not gonna cry like a baby about life not being fair, but there is a fine line between being a pushover and being an asshole, or being, sorry, I'm probably not allowed to say that on the
Oh,
radio.
you can say whatever the hell you want.
Okay, good. It's just a fine line between, having boundaries and being selfish. And so when a person comes to you and says, "Oh, you're this, this, and this, and this," and kind of is attacking who you are, you can take a step back and be like, "Am I those things?" And then you think about it and you're like, "Actually, no, that doesn't make any sense. And here's the reason why." And when they go like, "Well, this is my truth and you're gaslighting me," it's kind of like, well, this is my truth. This is my experience. And we don't have to see eye to eye. We can disagree. And if you want to be angry and bitter about it, like, that's really up to you. But that's kind of what the song is about. It's just like life. You make plans and life happens. Or there's an old Jewish phrase. It's people make plans and God laughs, I think.
Oh, that is so true.
Right. So it's kind of dealing with that aspect of life, and it's dealing about that aspect of this relationship that ended, where you're kind of like, I don't know, that's something I think about a lot. Like, I never was upset that they wanted somebody else. I wasn't upset that they fell in love with someone else, or didn't want to be with me, because I have value. I know who I am, and I'm a good person, and I don't need anyone else's approval.
Right.
But what bothered me was them trying to say I was something I was not, and blaming me for their behavior, and blaming me for, like, they just try to put it on me. And I was like, no, that's not how this works.
That's not going to work for me.
Yeah. You take accountability. I'll take accountability. But, when you end a marriage after 13 years because, I didn't say I love you back 13 years ago, and it hurt your feelings. And I didn't massage you long enough during childbirth because I only massaged you for 30 minutes and I abandoned you. Like, I get that these are things that you feel, and that is valid. But, like, you never told me. And
it's more of a reflection on them. It's not you per se. You're the closest one that they're going to put this toxic energy on. It's actually more of a reflection of themselves. 100%. You know what I mean?
100%. And so that's essentially what it is, she came to me and said, "Hey, you're this, this, then this. You did this, this, and this, and this." And I said, "Well, this is news to me. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me how you're feeling? Why didn't you tell me this was a problem 13 years ago, 8 years ago? Why didn't you tell me?" And her literal response was, "You should have known." And that's essentially where the album title comes from.
Yeah. Well, as they say,
hard. It was hard, but it was also, like, this isn't about me. This is about you. Anyways, I interrupted. Go ahead.
They say men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and we are not the same people. There's no way we're mind readers. Their communication's the key. And if you don't understand that we're wired different, then, that's just the way we are. You wouldn't be able to tell me what I'm thinking right now. Why should she expect you to do that?
Yes.
Okay, having said that, let's go ahead and take a listen to this great song, "The Things You Never Told Me." And again, I've got you on loop now. I'm one of your biggest fans, and
thank you.
So excited that this is the album release today. So here we go, everybody, with "The Things You Never Told Me."
Question, I've had an answer. It was unexpected. It always is. Should I have known things you never told me? Should I have known things you never said? Yeah, I'm not hurt, but you don't want me. What shakes me up is how you lie, and you'll deny it as long as you're breathing. Yeah, you'll deny, justify. Question, I've had an answer. Your good intentions, they won't suffice. I asked for more, but you had nothing. I asked for more, things just died.
And that was the things you never told me. I know you all, I bet if everybody heard that song right now, they're going to say, there is something about you that feels like home. Your voice, it's familiar, but it's not like anything else out there. It's a really strange that I felt when I heard it, because it's comforting, even though the words are very, very understanding. I mean, your message is clear, but it's comforting. Your vocals are comforting. The skill of the instrumentation is great. So you obviously have excelled in 20 years with your guitar playing. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about so this family you have built, this group you have built and created.
Yeah.
Do you guys tour now, or what are you guys currently doing?
Yeah, so currently we went to Japan in March.
Wow.
And yeah, we went to Japan. We just wanted to go to Japan.
Uh-huh.
And so we did. And we played shows and it was great. And I'm really, really lucky and I'm very grateful that we got to experience that. And it was beautiful. It was total magic. And then we're releasing the album today. And in a month, in September, we're going for like a week tour around East Coast. I would go longer if I could get time off work. And I think I would go longer and farther if it wasn't so much work outside of work. I already work like 50 to 60 hours a week. So
I know.
doing like booking a tour without an agent is just so much work. And then, you're trying to survive and get paid and just all that stuff. So anyways, tour in September. And then I think we already have like 20 new songs and like 40 new ideas. And I think we want to just spend the winter writing and collaborating and going in and prepping to go in and record another one that's all of us that's co-written a little bit more.
Doesn't seem like your well runs dry when it comes to artistic and creative ideas.
No, I'm constantly coming up with ideas. I'm constantly like putting down little voice memos, and
Hmm.
then every month or two I'll go back through them and kind of filter them all and like go through the ideas. Like if I have an idea, I'll record it really quick, and then I'll go back to it months later, kind of recognizing like, oh, I totally forgot that I wrote this. This is awesome, or this is terrible, and I'll just filter through everything in a general cyclical process. So then, you know, I have a lot of choices. Going in and recording like 40 songs was, you know, great, but it was also, you know, stuff that had already been filtered. I probably wrote like 60 to 80 songs at least before we went to the studio. So,
I could only write when shit was going bad, and then when my life goes good, I just didn't feel that I didn't need that therapy by Heather
yeah,
Kelly. You know what I mean? So I I songwriting was hard for me. It was really hard for me. I too, I grew up, musical, not vocally, but I played violin and things like that. So
yeah,
self-taught piano, but I mean, to learn what a bridge was and a refrain and a chorus and a verse, and how to make that all work. It's a challenge. And
yeah.
that's what I was saying about you. It took 20 years, but you found your rhythm and what works together for you, because your arrangements of the music is what's so cool. I mean, I
Well,
love the arrangements. Mm-hmm.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Um, I always, whenever people talk to me about it, about writing songs or any of that stuff, I generally compare. I mean, I just compare it to a muscle. Like you get up and you do 100 push-ups every day, you're gonna develop that muscle. You're gonna stay in shape.
Mm-hmm.
And similarly, like I'm constantly like playing with ideas. If I'm on an airplane to go see my son across the country, I'm usually reading a book, or I'm writing down ideas, or I'm playing with words, or there's a lot of fun like word games you can do to for like later use.
Yeah.
And so that way you have, you know, you're constantly using that muscle, that creative muscle, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you talk about, the muscle memory. I
Yeah.
haven't played for, gosh, I don't know, seriously, about 8 years now. But when we
Okay.
were playing out live, it was such a muscle memory to play because we rehearsed so much and we performed so much that I honestly would be singing a song and thinking, hmm, did I send off that bill? I mean, my mind could be, it was such muscle memory. I didn't even have to think about performing. And my dad, who was a musician too, always said, Heather, 100 times, play it 100 times minimum, and then do it a
Yeah.
hundred more times, just so you look natural on stage. That's what I mean. And your
Yeah.
videos are so great because that's exactly, it looks fun when you're performing. It
Yes.
just looks so like with ease and natural. So I enjoy that. And speaking of videos, how did you guys do this last video, with this song? How did,
Oh, that's a good point. I brought a digital camera, like a little digital video camera with me,
okay.
and I think everyone in the band was just filming little videos, and then we threw it all into a folder and sent it over to an editor and just said, please make something out of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's all they did. They just took a bunch of the footage of us
Oh, it's very
being
cool.
in Japan. If anything, I just wanted some sort of document for us to be able to remember, like, hey, that time we went to Japan, because
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna sit on that memory for the rest of our lives and just be
Well, and
extremely
your son will
grateful.
see it someday too, and have that forever.
Yes, exactly,
So cool. That's
exactly.
cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so yeah, it's mostly the editor.
Yeah.
Danny
Very
Parker,
cool.
she's an editor in LA. She's really great. So yeah,
Things have come a long ways. I mean, now that we've got all these phones and anything, you can document, it's pretty much high def now. So that's kind of a game changer versus where you had the okay rolling, back in the day. That it's
yeah,
it's so advantageous. And you know what? It's also makes things tough because everybody can do it. That's hard. There's
yep. That's so true. So true.
cons and pros of it both. Did great.
It
Doctor,
is.
doctor.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
I'm
talk about it.
sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's both good and bad because anyone can do it now. So now we're having to throw our pearls into like the deepest of oceans.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a beautiful thing that everyone gets to participate.
I
I,
believe that there is room for every kind of music.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we play a game in the barber shop, or at least we've been playing a game where we invent a band name and we
Hmm.
see if it exists, and then we see if it sounds like we expected.
That's so
And
fun.
it's been so much fun because you get used to listening to all the same stuff all the
Yeah.
time. And so, when I come up with like, hey, what if there was a band named Turkey Drizzle? And there's not, but there is a song called Drizzle by Turkey Boy, and it's pretty great.
There you go. See, that's
Yeah.
really cool. That is cool. I
So,
I sometimes on Spotify if I'm painting a room or something. I've been working on our house a lot, but I'll let's say I'll plug you in, and then it'll do sounding artist, and it's fun that way because otherwise, you're right. You get used to the same channels or same people you always listen to, and
yeah,
I like that. I love that.
yeah,
That's turkey drizzle.
it was ridiculous. Just seeing if it exists,
That is
just
so
see
fun.
like yeah. Somebody mentioned like pickle juice, and I was like, please tell me there's not a band called Pickle Juice. And there's like multiples of it. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
ah,
Uh-huh. That's
oh,
funny.
yeah. Anyways,
Tell me about Dr. Drew.
yeah, that one, I just showed that to my brother actually, and it really bummed me out because he was like, oh, I feel this. And I was like, please don't,
Oh
please don't
no.
feel this.
I know.
And I mean, that was very, very much just a conversation I had with a doctor about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I just lifted the conversation and pasted it onto a page. And it's essentially how I was feeling like post divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I think the person that I was with felt like a person's value was how much money they made, and
Mm-hmm.
there really wasn't room for other things. It was, I think their view of humanity was really rooted in capitalism,
Oh no.
and people were good looking or they made money and they had value, and if they didn't, then they didn't have value. And maybe that's not fair to them, but that's how I felt. And so, kind of trying to navigate like, am I living in a world where people only care about that? Because that's kind of a bummer. And recently, even just like a week ago, my son was with me for a month this summer.
Yeah.
And so every night I was playing through the set list, trying to get ready for tonight's show. And I would play the whole album straight through. And, after him hearing those songs for a month straight, I asked him, like, hey, do you have a favorite song? Like, what's your favorite song? And he was like, oh, Doctor. And I was like,
Yeah.
really? Like, why do you like that one? He's like, oh, I can relate to it. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, please,
oh
no.
no.
And I stopped recording, but then I asked him later and I was like, hey, when you relate to that song, like, what do you relate to? He's like, well, just, that, like, when you say that my son still needs his dad, because I still need you. And I was like, okay,
Oh,
now that's like the opposite. Like, you're not like feeling an existential crisis. You just
yeah.
still need your dad. You
That
need
is one of those moments you should cherish the rest of your life.
100%. No,
Oh my
he's given me like a relentless amount of beautiful experiences for me to sit on and stay with.
God.
And he's a he's an amazing human being, and I tell him every day.
I'm glad you're a good dad. I would like to interject one more thing. I just sent to my sister today, and I want you to hear this too. But talking about what like you mentioning that monetary things, and
Yeah,
your worth. We are born with nothing. We
yeah,
will die with nothing. But I believe when we die, it's our soul that continues on. And
yeah,
you, my friend, have an amazing soul. And so none of that, that's what you should be loved about. I mean, that's your soul. Don't worry about those things. That stuff that we are here a blip on this earth.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's your
Yeah.
soul that leaves a memory, not a skyscraper. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's not about the money. It's about soulful
Yeah.
connections.
Yeah, 100%. It's having those experiences, it's having those moments. And I think that's why, even when I was in a relationship where I was not, like, music was a waste of time for that
Mhm.
person, there was, I mean, that's why I live.
Yeah,
The idea,
that's
like,
you.
yeah, there's been so many times in my life where I hear a song and it just helps me get through something.
Hmm.
And so every aspect of songwriting for me is always that element of, well, what if I can write something that helps someone else? What if I can write something so that they know they're not alone? Even if it's sad, it's sad. If it's happy, it's happy. But I want people to know that they're not alone in whatever they're dealing with. And
Hmm.
especially post divorce, that was objectively the most fascinating thing to me is you get hit with
Hmm.
that ton of bricks. You're just like, what just happened to me? What is going on? And then you have this objective realization of like, oh, my best friend went through this a year ago. Oh, there's this other guy who went through this. And you go down the list and it's like, everyone I knew had been through this. And so I just started reaching out to every single person I knew. It's like, hey, how did you get through this? Like, what was your experience? And
Hmm.
being able to have those conversations and realize like, everyone's been through this. Everyone's okay. Everyone's going to be okay. Like, even though I know I'm in this dark tunnel and I can't see a light, I know there's going to be a light. I
Yeah.
know it's going to get better. And I just have to hold on to, like it's going to get better. And right now, it just sucks. And that's just as valuable as the good. Like, the bad is just as valuable as the good to me. If anything, it's more valuable. It's where you find out who you are at your core. And it's when you develop those, I guess, mental gymnastic muscles
Hmm.
to navigate difficult things. If you have a life that's just easy all the time, you're weak, you're flaccid. And if you have difficulty, it's not enjoyable, but it's that thing, it's the test. And it's,
Character building.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I, yeah, I'll stop there, but I could talk about that extensively.
Well, you know what? Your son like Dr. Doctor. Let's show everybody what it's all about. Here we go again. Icarus Phoenix with Dr. Doctor. We'll be right back.
The doctor told me I have so much I can give. There are reasons I should live, stay alive. The doctor told me life is precious, I exist. If I'm gone, then people will miss me. I told her I would agree with maybe one of three. 'Cause ain't nobody missing me anymore. I told her I don't agree. We all work until we die. Ain't no time to enjoy life anyway. Doctor told me that my son still needs his dad. I'm not a paycheck, I'm a man with a voice. The doctor told me I have value, I have worth. I have a place here on this earth every day. I told her I would agree with maybe one or three. Just give it a few weeks, life moves on. I told her I don't agree. The world is callous, it is cold, and I do not fit the mold of an ideal man. I told her I don't agree. Ain't nobody needing me. Hear me singing to myself anymore.
Drew, Doctor, another great song. The video, the video hit, it's real. It's a real video. And meaning like I think a lot of people could relate to it. And
Good.
you're not alone, by the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of America, not all of America, but actually, a lot of us, whether it's divorce, whether, it's a long-term partner or something, but we've all been there. And good song, great song.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I just really appreciate you taking the time, Heather. This is lovely.
Oh, it's my privilege. Absolutely my privilege. So I thank you.
Me too.
Well, okay. So you're on the East Coast, Pittsburgh area. You've been to Japan. I don't even have a passport.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I don't even have a passport. Anyways, it's so crazy. You're touring all the time. And this last song, again, I feel like I've known you for so long, especially when I listen to your music, because it's oddly familiar, but it's fresh and new. So I don't understand it, but I like it. I mean, this last song this is actually one of my favorite ones I was listening to this morning. When It's Time to Go. I don't know if it is that one. I like that song a lot. How do you write lyrics first and put music to it later, or do you do the music first, lyrics later? What's your process?
When I first started, I was writing lyrics first and adding music to it because
Okay.
it just made the most sense. I would write a poem and then I'd figure out chords and then I'd come up with a melody
Mhm.
for those words. But now, or soon thereafter, I should say, I started doing the exact opposite. I started
Mhm.
coming up with a melody, and a lot of times it's a melody with words, and but mostly it's a melody, and then I'll insert words later that fit the melody.
Mhm.
I mean, there are occasions where like I'll write a song around a concept, like I'll start from the end and go to the beginning.
Yeah.
So like,
Benjamin Button.
yeah, like a few examples if there's time.
Yeah.
Like the song Painting on the new album, I
Mhm.
very much wrote with the intention of writing kind of my own version of like a Patricia Polacco novel.
Okay.
She writes kids' books that like the end of the story is always admission of this is a true story and this is how I know and this is my experience and this is how I'm connected to it being a true story. And so with Painting, I very much wanted to write a story about my mother and that moment when I realized all the paintings I'd grown up with in my house that I didn't even know that she painted, that
Oh,
she
wow.
painted them during a therapy, like an art therapy class after her third son died of cancer.
Oh my goodness.
And kind of not realizing that as a kid, because why would you?
Mhm.
And he died before I was born, so it wasn't really like it happened. I was born
You weren't even
into the
aware of it. Mhm.
yeah, I was born into the echoes of that. And I grew up in a house where, this happened and she had done this art therapy class and I didn't know anything about it. And I remember sitting down with her and asking her about that situation and about her life and kind of just devising like, okay, like I know I want to get to an ending where I'm telling this person's story and I really want to punch people in the gut with, and this is how I found out. Like, this is
Mhm.
my mom. Like, this whole story about this person's life and the suffering that they went through. And then here's the gut punch of like, and, when I was a boy, I would look at those paintings, not even knowing my mom made them while her son died of cancer, kind of
Mm.
just like a bam.
Mhm.
And so with that one in mind, it's like I started with the end, knowing I wanted to get to this moment where you can weave a narrative about a person and then let them know, like, this is a real person and this is how I know them. And
Mhm.
here you go.
Yeah.
And it's not a twist, but it has like a twist kind of a feeling.
Mhm.
And then other ones that are a little more whimsical, like I wrote The Future for Emma was a song that I wrote. I saw somebody wearing a t-shirt that said that the future is female, and I
Yeah.
loved it. And I don't know why, but I just started humming something down the street, like humming a little melody. It's like the future is female ejaculation on your face. And I just thought the line of the future is female ejaculation on your face is
Mhm.
hilarious and
It is.
wonderful. And I want to write a song about that.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean and how do I get there? So you kind of reverse engineer it to like, let's write a song about that.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
how can we and I think in particular with that one, I really love writing a song where I can play it, I can sing it, and one person will laugh and think this is a hilarious joke, and another person will go, "Oh, I love this. This
Yeah.
is this is real."
You do
And
have a gift with words. I mean, your vocabulary is I mean, it's huge, and so the way you put words together, and just the fact that that's how you worded, how you thought about that, the female and the ejaculation thing. I mean, that actually makes sense. If you
yeah,
if you say that, it makes great sense. Um,
yeah,
I appreciate that about you. You put it in a way that everybody understands. It's just their interpretation of whether they like it or not. I like it.
good. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan in a
Yeah.
lot of ways.
Good. Hey, I've got to wrap this up within the next 10 minutes or so, but let's go ahead and take a look at that last song, that When It's Time to Go. We'll listen to that quick. And when we get back, I want you to fill everybody in. You've got a show tonight, actually, an
Yeah.
album release show. So we'll talk about that and then your links and where everybody can find you.
Okay.
Okay, we'll be right back with you guys. Here we go with When It's Time to Go. I don't know if it is. All right.
Right now it means everything to have you near. Right now it means everything that you're here. 'Cause I don't wanna die today without the chance for me to say I'm sorry for the hey you, I'm glad you're gone, go away. Oh look, another song about the same. 'Cause I don't wanna feel this way. I don't wanna feel like the day might never be there. Disagree, but don't deny accountability. Accountability. It's lack of empathy. Grace extends to you, but never reaches me. Like a one-way street, and when it's time to go, well, I don't know if it is.
All right, everybody. That was When It's Time to Go. I don't know if it is. I'm going to tell you, Drew, this has been such a privilege. It's such fresh music with, great meanings behind it. I know that our fans are going to love this, and I'm hoping you get a whole new fan base here in the Midwest, and maybe even have a, maybe tour over in Chicago or somewhere here in Iowa someday. You never know, but you're going to do great things. I know you said short-term school. Obviously, your release date today, and you're playing tonight. Why don't you tell everybody out there in Baltimore, right? You're playing out there.
Yeah.
Where you're going to be at tonight, so they can catch you.
Auto Bar. It's my favorite venue in the city.
Okay, I hadn't been that one. So what part of Baltimore is that in? I'm trying to think.
Charles Village.
Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I was closer. I would be there. I would
love that.
Yeah, that would be so fun. I know you're going to keep writing. You guys want to get another album out. How can people find your music these days?
I love Bandcamp. A lot of people have moved on and just use Spotify. Thankfully, we are everywhere. Whatever music service you use, we'll be on it.
I know it. And there is a vast amount of videos. I took kind of a deep dive into them and been looking at them lately. And maybe that's why your music sounded so familiar to me. It's almost like I felt like I knew you, getting into this interview. We've conversed back and forth. Life happens, so some things had come up. But I took the time to acclimate myself, and I'm so glad I did. I'm a lifelong fan here. Lifelong fan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And how did you hear about my podcast, Drew? Just curious.
I think I had a friend that was sharing some of his contacts, and it was a lot. And I just remember trying to reach out to everyone that I could.
Okay.
Just trying to get the word out, and you responded, and I love it. Thank you. Thanks for responding.
I'm so glad I did. You know what? Serendipity. I don't think that I just met a cool musician. I think I met a pretty cool friend too. So
Likewise.
Yes, you got my number, Drew.
Cool.
Hey, everybody, please hit subscribe on all of his pages. Artists need all the support they can get. This guy here, one of the most talented people I've ever met. So I look forward to every project you put out, and I hope you come back and visit me next time you have a release.
Absolutely.
If you're ever in Iowa, you can come check out the studio too.
I 100% yes.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
We're just north of Des Moines.
The last time I was there was Day Trotter.
Okay.
I don't know how close you are to that, but
I don't even know where that's. I'd have to look. I am 90 minutes northwest of Des Moines.
Okay. Day Trotter was in Quad Cities, so eastern.
Oh yeah, I know where Quad Cities are. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So you're northwest, like over by Greeley? Not Greeley. What is that one? What's that smaller town northwest of Des Moines, the college town?
Ames?
Yeah, I'm thinking of Ames.
Okay, I'm 45 minutes from Ames, just a little bit northwest. So get down there a lot. Go Cyclones.
Yeah.
Yeah. This tailgate's fun there, I'll tell you that for sure. So
Cool.
well, Drew, thank you again. I'm in awe by your talent, and I think our fans will be too. I'm glad that we finally connected, and congratulations on your 4th album release.
Thank you so much.
All right. With that, everybody, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe, and Heather will be back with you. Heather. Who's Heather? I'm Heather. I will be back with you again in a couple weeks with another artist, but thank you for tuning in. And Drew, you have a fantastic day.
You've been listening to the Indie Music Room with Heather Kelly. Be sure to listen every Saturday and Sunday right here on FortDodgeRadio.com and subscribe for all our past and upcoming shows. The Indie Music Room is a production of FortDodgeRadio.com.